Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising, your tarot reading for the week ahead. Aren't you glad that the year is over? Certainly feels like it, particularly with the Fool card at the beginning of your reading. This real sense of releasing the shackles, taking off the coat of responsibility and thinking, thank goodness, I can just look forward to 2025. A real message here to celebrate, to enjoy everything that 2024 has brought you. I know it isn't quite over yet. You may feel and find that there's some last minute demands, which I'll talk about in a moment. But the only warning that you have, the only thing to guard against is perhaps overindulging a little too much. So don't hit the Christmas eggnog too hard. Otherwise, you're likely to wake up with a groggy head. But it's a good problem to have. That's exactly what the Three of Cups talks about. It talks about festivities, camaraderie, groups. So there's likely to be office Christmas parties, celebrations, friends parties, all great. But just guard against burning the candle at both ends, because yes, you may feel that things are coming to an end, but there's a little bit of a last push. And again, I'll speak about that in a moment. But now is the time to give yourself a well-deserved pat on the back. You've got the Ace of Pentacles here, which is a really lovely energy in combination with the Fool card, all about expansion. Again, that sense of freedom, that sense of abandon. Everything is possible for you. So you'll be likely tying up loose ends. As much as this combination would usually indicate and talk about new beginnings, I'm actually going to be a little bit controversial here and say it's probably not a good time to be starting things, because you're likely to end up feeling, again, not doing that necessarily with a sense of enthusiasm, with a sense of excitement, but rather a sense of resentment and, this is starting to feel a tragedy. I thought I'd wrapped everything up. That's not to mean that they won't be there. There won't be that annoying person coming along saying, hang on a second, you thought this was done to 100%. Actually, it's only done to 80%. You need to go back and revisit and retweak it. Anytime that does happen, just do it with a smile. Say, okay, no problem. I'll make sure that is completed and finished as much as possible. So are we wrapping up loose ends before we're getting excited about the next thing? There's a little bit of a sense this week about living in the future, trying to kind of race ahead to when we get to that festive break, when we get to the next year, but you're not quite there yet. That's the only dot on the piece of paper. It's the only fly in the ointment. So as flies go, it ain't a bad one. It's not a horsefly or anything too violent. I say a lot of this because you have the Seven of Wands here, which can sometimes indicate having to stand one's ground, take the upper ground, and again, slightly guard against the influences and inputs of other people that are perhaps trying to stick their oar in. Again, this is the only quote-unquote bad card within the spread, but there are no good or bad cards in the tarot. Sometimes this can be about standing your ground in a healthy way, but this I can just, again, the main word that keeps coming up is a sense of resentment. So if that starts to bubble up for you, brush it off, wash it off, and just go, sure, no problem. You might have to fake it till you make it, but I can see why you might want to clench your teeth and try and bring yourself back down to earth with a few calming breaths. But it's really, really nice to see this combination with the Star and the Ace of Pentacles. For me, this is always the stars that are very often a symbol about our long-term goals, our long-term wishes, what we're trying to achieve. And again, we might be starting to think in that way. Remember what I said before about living slightly in the future. But they can often feel quite far off or completely outside of our grasp or not entirely possible. But this Ace of Pentacles energy is suggesting that those dreams, those wishes, all the things that you've wanted to achieve are completely attainable. They're completely within your arm's reach. It's worthwhile this week spending some time reflecting on what you have achieved this year rather than just being focused on the year ahead. Yes, it's important that we're not melancholic, that we're not wistful, that we're not full of regret of the year ahead. But it's really, really key at some point over the coming weeks to do a stock check of what am I really proud of that I've done, what have I succeeded with this year, and kind of check them off. It's much more about what you have attained rather than what you still need to attain. That would be one of my big messages. But still worth, it doesn't mean that we have to abandon our long-term goals. Quite the contrary, it is a really opportune time to do that. But don't only do that, because again, you might end up in this place, the Seven of Wands place, of feeling a slight lack, or feeling, God, I've still got all of this to do, and we don't want to tip into overwhelm here at all. That's why I said earlier, just be slightly careful to take on anything new. You may feel that energy, that excitement, to kind of launch into the next thing, but don't do it just yet. Just allow it to percolate, allow it to sit in the background. Your task for this week ahead is simply to enjoy, to celebrate. And the task for you, the challenge for you is, how are you going to do that? Do you need to host a party? Do you need to get the Secret Santa going? However, whatever it might be. But this sense of collective, this sense of camaraderie, this sense of just celebrating in each other is going to be a really, really important thing for you. And particularly, and I don't mean this unkindly at all, with Aries, we're so focused on what's coming up next and what we need to push forward with and what we need to achieve. We'll turn up to the party if we're invited, but we may at times forget to be the host. So there are times and opportunities coming up for you to do that. If that's not possible for you to do physically, could you, I know it's a bit of a dirty word these days, but could there be a Zoom meetup? Could you organise something with friends? It may just be as simple as, start writing your Christmas cards, but shift the focus and attention. This is really key. Shift the focus and attention of what do I need, what do I want, what's in it for me, to actually how can I show my appreciation, love, and support of those that are around me. Yes, this kind of festive period can be as much around gifts, physical gifts, but also there is a gift of celebrating in the connections, friendships, and love that you have for other people. And that, I would say, is more key for now. Check in with all those friends that you've slightly lost contact with. Those kind of things are the suggestion here. But as I say, it's a really, really good time to give yourself a pat on the back. Don't take anything too seriously this week. Just enjoy the moments as they come. Just think, thank goodness, we're coming to the end of the year. That represents to me a cycle, very much with the Ace of Pentacles as well. That cycle of what I have managed to make tangible and achieve into this cycle of how has that enabled me to get closer to my long-term goals and and what it is I want to achieve. And if that's not quite clear, then it's time to just very, very gently reflect on that, percolate on that, but not necessarily make any drastic moves, any quick moves in order to get there. So that's my reading for Aries. Hope that helps. Be sure to check out your rising sign and moon sign and sun sign if you haven't already for a more rounded reading. So check those out in the upcoming week. But until then, I shall see you next week. Bye for now.